Welcome back to RV Mobile Memoirs.
First trip.
Hey, I'm Zay.
And I'm Lance. So if you're just now following us, we did the introduction to kind of highlight what the channel will be about. So I do recommend that you take a look at the introduction video just to get a little bit of input into why we're doing it. But we are going to talk with you today about our first trip, right? As previously mentioned, we purchased the RV in January of 2024. And now in April, around the Easter holiday, we're actually going to take the RV out. And we decided to do something local. You want to tell where we're going?
Yeah, you know what? We decided to do something local. We thought it would be the best to kind of cut our teeth on. So we decided to go ahead and go to Margaritaville at Lake Lanier Island. As a lot of you know, we house our RV in Lawrenceville, Georgia. So we're looking at, you're probably looking at a 45-minute drive to Lake Lanier, which we thought it was going to be a decent time to get a feel for the road and driving the RV. Just to let you know, this will be our very, very first time taking the RV out from the dealership. We only drove it really from a test drive perspective. After we closed on the RV, we put it in storage immediately, and we went back to Florida, and we were in Florida. And so then we went ahead while we were in Florida, started planning out how we were going to use the RV and when we were going to take it out. So like Glenn said, during the Easter holiday weekend, we decided let's go ahead and take our first trip and try it out for a long weekend and see how it rolls.
Okay, so let the journey begin. So in the process of storing it with the dealership that we purchased it from, you do have to give them 24-hour notice to, hey, I'm picking up the RV, pull it out for us. And they'll give you instructions. And I do believe there was some email exchange between Zay and the company saying, hey, they mentioned something about the gate entry process, because this is coming up on disaster number 1. So we drove there and we get to the gate, and typically at the gate previously, you just had to wave your hand over what I'm going to call the gate opener, and the gate opened. Well, we got there this time and waving our hands as if we're in a parade at the gate opener, and it's not opening. Right. But after maybe 15, 20 minutes trying to get into.
It might have even been 30 or 40, it felt like, on all honesty, y'all.
Or whatever the number of minutes. Everything seemed long at that point. So someone came in. I think it may have been some after hours workers that were going to the place. They came. They had to open the gate to get in. So we went in first and found the RV. It was like, okay, well, we're in here. We'll give them feedback on that process, because this was something that we did not know, and we would have expected for them to let us know.
And we truly thought it was crisis averted at that point in time, right? We're getting the RV, so we're good. We're happy. We're back excited about the moment. So we're good to go. So.
Okay, so here's little Thelma and Louise trucking out of here in the RV. Zay's in the truck, and pull up to the gate to exit the dealership, and the gate will not open. So here we are again, sitting,
waving,
and calling, and the gate will not open. And this is another 30 to 40 plus minute that we're sitting out here waiting. So finally, like we had mentioned, you meet friendly people on this RV journey, and if you look like you're having some trouble, they'll more than likely step over to help you out. So there was a gentleman there. They came over, and he did ask a lot of questions, rightfully so.
And he was staying on site. So he was having some repairs done to his RV, and you can stay on site when you're doing that inside of your RV. So he came out of his RV and, asked what was going on. We told him. And so, luckily after quite a few questions, he went ahead and used his card to let us out.
Right. And I get it. Like, it's a brand new dealership. He doesn't know like what's going on or why we're like whose RV this is, and why we don't know the entry or exit delay processing. But we get out of there. We bring it back to the house and pull it in. And it's late in the evening too, because we're not supposed to have it at our home in Georgia due to HOAs. But
HOA police, please don't come get us. Please, we don't need it. We're not trying to cause problems.
But we did. We pulled it in, and we needed to pack it up because keep in mind, like we said in the beginning, this is the first trip, so we needed to pack up. We needed to take on pillows. We needed to do sheets, comforter, like supplies for the restroom, supplies for the kitchen, pots, pans, like all of this was the first time we were on here and we were actually packing up.
And don't forget my favorite, food and alcohol. So,
Yes.
we had to have all those good things.
As a matter of fact, I need a drink now, but I digress. But so we did that. We finally, we did get it all packed up. Now in this process, I was kind of going back and forth in my head of actually plugging in at the house. One of the things in the intro video that and it's a lesson for any RVer, that your RV really should always be plugged in, right? Even when it's parked and stored, it actually is plugged in to keep the house battery charged and to keep it like things, because there are some things that will still run off power and you can quickly deplete. When you think about all of the things that are running off of this battery, it can quickly deplete it. So we did plug in, and one of the things that I'll let Zay tell you about are the various adapters, right?
Yep.
There's surge protectors and surge protector adapters that we do have for electricity.
So y'all, you as you guys know, that we are totally new to this. This is all first timer stuff for us. So definitely want to share what we've learned. So it could help anyone else, especially that's either just starting out in RVing or looking to start out in RVing. Definitely one of your very first purchases that you guys are going to need to make for your RV is you're going to need to get a surge protector for your RV, right? It's extremely important to have a surge protector. It is going to ensure that, you don't go to an RV park and get some bad electricity that goes into your house and destroys your electricity. So your electrical items. So you definitely want to make sure you have a surge protector. Then the next two items I definitely recommend that you guys are going to get is a surge protector adapter for 110 outlet. So that's really for your house outlet. So like Lance said that when we got here, he was able to go ahead and plug us up at the house. That's the way he was able to do it. We have that surge protector adapter for 110. So definitely put that down on your list. And then the other one I would definitely recommend for you to put down on your list is going to be the surge protector from a 50 watt to a 30. So that way, if you go to one of the RV parks that may only offer 30 watt, then you always have the items. So what I'm going to do on this video is I'll go ahead and put all the links to the ones that we purchased on Amazon. We've used them all already, so I definitely would recommend them. No problems in any of them that we've had. I will say you will see the prices vary on these things, right? I've read a lot of reviews. I've seen a lot of different ones. I mean, so we did middle ground. This is probably one of the ones that we did a middle ground price on and hadn't had any problems with them. Again, there's a lot more expensive ones on the market you'll see, and there's a lot cheaper ones on the market you'll see. We felt comfortable going in middle and kind of going there with it. So put the links down below. You guys have any questions, don't hesitate. Shoot the comments. Please, existing RVers out there, shoot which ones you're currently using. We would love to know what you're using, how you like it, so that we can all share information and continue that process going. So I'll shoot it back over to Lance.
Yep. And what I will say is with the electricity, right? Like in just your coach in general, get to know your inverter. Because there was at one point in time where the inverter had started beeping. It was setting, and it was an alarm essentially, and we didn't know what it meant. So we had to quickly go and look up the manual to kind of get an idea of what the error message was. Now, here we are, like taking pictures of the actual inverter and trying to match that up to the graphics because it's not all verbiage. It is like some
Symbols.
pictures
Yeah.
and symbols to try and see what was going on to fix the problem. But we quickly learned, like I mentioned, to keep it plugged in because it will quickly deplete the battery. So
And real quick, we'll continue to say Google is going to be your best friend in
And
any of
YouTube.
these things. The other piece of it that I would definitely recommend is get to know the brand of item that you have inside of your RV. So that was crucial, right?
Yes.
We needed to know the name of our inverter so that when we're looking up the manual to understand the
exact
symbols,
one.
you had to have that. So definitely make sure you kind of get a nice, good list going of the items that are inside of your RV so that you can get to know them very personally.
And speaking of lists, that's one of the things that in the beginning, this tempted us to start a checklist of items when you're packing up, things that you need to take. And then we'll talk more about the unpacking afterwards once the trip is complete. But okay, so we get it all packed up. We lay down for the evening, and then the next morning we get up, we move, and the journey starts. So we get in the RV, we're driving. We're not towing a car to the Lake Lanier Margaritaville RV resort this time because we had everything that we need. We'd already got food. We'd already got drinks. Zay likes to drink, obviously. So we had already got all of that. We took it with us. We got mixers. Hey, we're good to go. And
Plenty of alcohol, plenty
Yes.
of food, and plenty of alcohol.
Yes, we were packed. So we're driving. I start out driving. I enjoy the challenge, right? For the most part, I say, I don't like to necessarily be taken out of my comfort zone, but if you give me something and challenge me with it, I'm going to go for it. So like here it is. I'm like, okay, well, let me drive the RV. Now, mind you, I drove the RV from where we have it stored back to the house. And the drive wasn't bad. The one thing I will say is when we actually picked the RV up it was a little windy and it was raining. So with the RV for the first time really driving it out, I was finding that like it is a constant maintaining of the wheel. Like it frequently moves for me. And it's one of those items where you can't overreact like you could if you were in a car or SUV or a smaller automobile, because this is a bigger house. So like a quick jerk of the wheel may not be the best option for you for something that big. So you have to always just kind of keep adjusting the steering wheel, always paying attention to your lanes, your side mirrors, rear view mirrors, and whatever have you. And on the RV that we have, it has like a camera where you can see the back. So if you're towing something, you're able to see what's going on in the back to make sure that nothing's a problem. But in windy situations, it's going to blow the RV, right? So like you have to kind of drive and then also power against the wind that's blowing you in one direction or another. Yep. And then you have the 18-wheelers. So there were a couple of pieces that can be a little scary for the first drive, especially when you get into metropolitan areas where there's multiple lanes and then some of them can be kind of narrow. And you have people like zooming by, cars jumping in front of you, slowing down. And this is a bigger piece, and this was a learning lesson for me. And one of our friends that's a truck driver, one of the tips that he gave was, Lance, you need to make sure you start slowing down early. You need to drive essentially 2 miles ahead. He said, because this has a lot more weight to it. It's a bigger vehicle. It is harder to actually slow down, which was actually really good advice because it is. Right? It's not one of those where you can wait until the last minute. You literally have to start slowing down and preparing for situations. So that was kind of the first eye opener for me, like on that drive. But anything you would add?
I'll get there when we talk about going home. I'll get there. Yeah. Trust me, I have some stories for y'all.
So we're journeying, we're going, and luckily the ride is not that long. And like I said, there's frequent movements, and it's a lot in the beginning as you're getting used to that. Just have to pay attention to so many different things. You really have to be alert on the RV, yep. Right? Because It's one of those things you don't want to have a last minute reaction and a knee jerk reaction where you may do yourself more harm than good. So we journey up, we get to the RV park, and like I said, this is at Lake Lanier, the Margaritaville, and then I'll let Zay tell you about the entry.
So, y'all, again, I think there's a few things on this one, right? This is our very first time staying at an RV park because it's our very first time having an RV. So, really not really understanding what that check-in process looks like. What do you do? Where you park? How do you go? So all of this was new. So it was interesting. But for a few things about just the initial view of Lake Lanier, Margaritaville, it was very well maintained.
It's just Lake Lanier in general, like the entry for Lake Lanier.
Oh yeah. Yeah, but yeah, the lake. Yes, so I agree with Lance. The entry for Lake Lanier was really well maintained. It was nice. But once you actually got into the entry for Margaritaville was well maintained. It is a very, very massive place. Now, here is the only downfall about not. And Lance had mentioned earlier, we did not drive a car. Margaritaville is pretty spread out if you want to do some of their activities that they have going on. So what we ended up doing is we ended up renting one of their golf carts. Now, I'll be extremely honest with y'all. You know, I enjoyed Margaritaville, but they are a little on the high side. They are definitely on the pricey side. Their golf cart was $75 a day rental. We didn't know how often we were going to use it, and we didn't want to have to be walking back and forth. So we went ahead and just got it for the entire duration that we were there. So again, it added a pretty big chunk back onto the bill. So that's just something to think about.
To spend money.
Yes. That's something to think about. But of course, we pulled in. There was very clear signage there that told us how to get to the RV park. Very clear signs where you park to check in. So we parked, we got off. Check-in process was very simplistic. They asked a few questions, and then of course they pulled out this map, showed us where we were going to be.
Well, first, don't forget they sell merchandise too. Like at quite a few of the RV parks, I believe they have what they call little general stores that basically sells basic products that you need. And obviously in the shirt that Zay is sporting today is one of the items from Margaritaville that their products, but it'll sell like basic products you need for the RV, basic food products you may need, and in some cases clothes, ice cream, and different things of that sort.
Yeah, very, very useful. I mean, so if you forget something, you can get it right there on site if it's something that's pretty common and something easy to get. So that was cool. So the gentleman told us, what we needed to do. So being that we got the cart, I drove the car. I followed the cart, but Lance drove the RV. I followed back around with the cart, the golf cart, and we went to our site. And so again, y'all, this is our very, very first time. Luckily, we weren't towing a vehicle at this time, so we had chose a back-in spot. So for all of you that never have, just like us, that never have done RV spots, and so when I was booking the reservation, it gave us a few options. It says you can have a back end spot, you can have a pull through spot. So and I'm like, I mean, don't get me wrong, I'm not dumb. I got what back end must be. You have to back the RV in. Pull through is you're just going to pull through. But in my mind, I guess because we hadn't really drove it yet, I didn't understand what difference it made, right? So luckily, we got a back end spot, but luckily Lance did such a phenomenal job and backing that big old RV in and getting us settled. So, I mean,
but really quick before you go on, like one thing with backing it in, like a lot we had talked to, and I think we took this for granted too. We had talked to some people that had an RV in the beginning, and one of the things that they mentioned is that like the need for walkie-talkies.
Oh, yes.
The need for walkie-talkies. Zay and I have actually just been using our phone. So he'll get his phone, he'll call me, and then we'll just use that to communicate back and forth, because you do need, like they have the backup cameras and things on the RV, but you need someone on the outside. Sorry, go ahead.
Well, you know what I find interesting, y'all, is when they initially told us about this whole walkie-talkie thing, I said, "Oh, I think that's a great idea. I think we should get them." And then Lance shut me down immediately. He was like, "We don't need walkie-talkies. We're fine, blah, 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 blah." Okay, no big deal. So then, y'all, I say, well, I make the recommendation that we use the cell phone at least,
Yes, it
so
was a great
I
recommendation.
could help
Kudos to
help
you.
him do it. He on this first trip, he was resistant and he didn't do it. Because he knew how to back it in. So what happened was, y'all, he backed it in at our house, and he did such a good job. He felt like he was a pro at it, and so he backed it in. It wasn't until our trip to Arkansas, which will be our next video, y'all, you don't want to miss. But I'll tell you how the expert backing in did there, because I think he had some oopsies. In Arkansas. So we'll take. Just know this, y'all. That's when he said, "Oh yeah, let's go ahead and use the phone to back."
Well, whatever.
in."
I would prefer to have oopsies with a larger vehicle than oopsies with smaller ones. But I'll digress. But I digress on that one.
So, like we were saying, Lanston, you backed in. Do you want to take the story from there?
So we backed. Well, and I think too, like initial reaction from my perspective with the RV park when we came around to the site, because it is a nice sized RV park, and they label it, I think it's the Margaritaville RV Resort.
Yes.
RV park, right?
Yeah.
So like anytime you hear the name resort, like some of the vendors use that term loosely, but you're going to have more activities. You're typically going to have like a pool or like tennis or pickleball courts or something of that sort, and some form of activities on site. Oh. So driving in, I was like, oh, this is really nice. It gives you really outside kind of camping feel, wooded areas, and we drive around to the site. The site is near the lake, so you have a nice view of the lake from the site that we're staying at. And of course, we get it out, we back in. Now, once we're backed in, now it's time to hook up. And Zay will tell you, oh, there was some agreement, which there was not. He will tell people all of the time, oh, the agreement was that I was going to do all of the driving. That is not true. And then he also will say, oh, well, Lance does the outside. I'll do the inside.
So just to step in, y'all. So the Lance always tries to make me look so bad. So
that is not true.
The agreement was Lance will drive the RV.
That's a lie.
And I will then, once we are wherever we're going to be, I will drive the car. I will drive us all around.
That's a lie.
That's in my recollection, that is a conversation that we had and we agreed to. So yeah. I'm holding him to
just
it.
Just like when we made the purchase, he wasn't going to say anything, and we weren't going there to make a purchase. We know how that turned out. But anyway, so now one of the quick lessons that I learned, and I also told Zay, on the setup, most of your hookups are going to be on the driver's side. And at the RV parks, like your water hookups, your electrical hookups, when you actually pull the RV in with the direction that they actually drive through, it's going to be on the driver's side where your hookups are. So the coach that we have has 3 slide outs. And over some of the hookups, there is a slide out. And so when Zay was setting up the inside, he let the slide out. And I'm still hooking up the power. You got to hook up your water. You got to hook up what they call your stinky slinkies for your sewage. And for us, we have 2 because of the 2 restrooms. We have one towards the middle of the RV and one towards the back. I quickly started bumping my head because when you're down, you're not really thinking about it. So you're hooking some things up, and then you go to stand up, there's a slide out, and boom. But you have to be really careful because the slide outs have really sharp edges, right? And keep in mind, this is a vehicle. So that was one of my quickest lessons. I learned that the hookup on the outside for the sewage, the water, and the stinky slinkies is actually pretty quick and quite easy. Yep. And it's not a hard process. Now, one thing that we didn't have a problem with at Margaritaville is similar with the electricity. This is probably recommendation purchase number 2, is the regulators. Some RV parks push out the water at very high PSIs that the RV probably cannot handle. We want to keep our PSI for the water coming into the RV around between 40, 50 PSI, and some of them actually push out at 80, 90. Yep. So you have to get a regulator to regulate the strength of the water coming out going into the RV. So definitely, I would say purchase. And Jose had found, and some of the RV parks will say it's a requirement when you sign up. So we did purchase one on Amazon, I do believe, which is great. And you can control, and we set it for between 40, 50, which gives you enough pressure to push the water out and different things of that sort.
So, but I'll throw this in real quick since we're talking about. So again, y'all, we will go ahead and put that link at the bottom of this page, on the bottom of this video, so that you guys can have the access to it. But another big thing that we had to order from a setup perspective for that is a water filtration system. So, you're going to be receiving water from all of these different places. You want to make sure you have a very, very good water filtration system. I'll be honest with you. This is the time that Lance and I actually purchased more on the high side. And so I'll be completely transparent. It was, this was definitely a lot more expensive than your normal ones. Yes. You can get some, they have some cheaper options out there. The one that we ended up going with has a 3-system filtration system. So we were just more comfortable with that. We were okay with paying the extra money to ensure that we had the water filter through coming through the RV in a better way. So I will put the link for that inside of this video also below. Please, if you have any questions, don't hesitate. Let us know. We'll be, I'll tell you our experience about that. What we'll most likely do is we'll do a whole tutorial on a hookup. Yeah. So next time we're out in the RV, we will be on the lookout for that. We'll do a hookup tutorial where Lance will show you all the stuff he does outside and all that good stuff, and I'll do the video. And of course, because Lance handles the outside, so you know how that goes. But again, links will be at the bottom. I would love to hear from our current RVers what filtration system you're using. How do you like it? What made you pick it? All of those good things. So I'll flip back to Lance.
Yes. So on the outside, everything's good. We're hooked up, go in. And now I will tell you, there is with the stinky slinkies in the sewage or the sewer dumps, you get a variety of them. Some of them, they're ground level. Some of them, they're a little bit raised. And with the stinky slinky has to be on a downward slope in order for everything to flow. So there are these, I would call them little trenches that are standing on the ground to kind of keep the stinky slinky at a downward pace so that everything flows out correctly. But sometimes the fitting where it drops out into the sewage that you have from the slinky, it doesn't always necessarily fit. So sometimes you may have to put something over it to hold it. We did order a piece, but it's that you can kind of Velcro around the sewage dump itself that's at the RV park, and then loop a level over the drainage from the stinky slinky to keep it steady. However, that only can be used if the drainage is raised, because there's that bottom piece that needs to Velcro around also to hold it. And so that doesn't always work. But that was another thing that I learned with that you do have to be mindful of, because it is sewage and you don't want things to spill as you're flushing your tanks or letting things out or draining them.
Yep. And quick shout out, we will put the link for that piece that Lanston was referencing to. And y'all, I know that some of you guys never heard of RVing and never did it. We will do a full tutorial. When we do the full tutorial, you'll get a better understanding what a stinky slinky is. I know the first time I heard the word stinky slinky, I was like, what are we talking about? But it will all make sense soon, y'all. It
Yes.
will all make sense.
Yeah. But with the other thing, I just first observations once we got to the site, like I said, like it has a nice view. It was near the water. The setup was really nice. They had a picnic table for you to sit out on. So we did like Zay said, we had lounge chairs and different things of that sort. But they did have a picnic table. They had it. Like it has a nice view. You can see the lake. And I noticed in the back end, it was concrete. So like on the RV, it was a concrete pad, which I really like. I like the concrete pad to that extent. And so after looking at all of that, I said to myself, oh, I still need to level. I need to level the RV. Now, from what I've read, there are two forms of leveling. There is an auto leveler on the RV. Some state that before you let the slide out, you should level it. And then once the slides are out, you should level it again. I've kind of noticed there still may need to be some minor tweaks. You will note when you're actually using the RV, when it's not level, there, like your shower as an example, the water's not going to flow correctly to the drain if it's not leveled. You may have a buildup and, you may have to manually let it out, or like I would say, just manually adjust your leveling from that perspective.
And real quick, y'all, I'll just say this for all first-time RVers, because again, our first time are looking at RV. A leveler, basically, it is they are the system that they have at the bottom of the RV that comes down to keep it all steady. So when you're in the RV, it could rock, it could move. This tries to keep it more stationary, so you don't have the up and down, and it feels it feels very, very regular. So just wanted to kind of throw that out there for everyone that never has seen that before.
Okay, and for the money pit, item number 3 to actually purchase, snap pads. So wanted at, and I forgot about snap pads. I didn't mention this in the setup that we did, but we actually did this when we actually brought the RV back to our home, and because we were looking at snap pads, some RV parks actually require you to have snap pads because by default, the levelers that push down are just steel plates, and the RV parks want to maintain their concrete pads so that they're not messed up or scratched from those. So they want you to install snap pads or have something that you're putting between the concrete and the actual the anchor, essentially coming down from the RV. So we had looked and even got quotes from the place that we purchased the RV from on the price to actually install snap pads. Now, the snap pads themselves are what, 200 plus bucks.
So again, y'all, this is where we took the higher end road on. There's a lot of different versions of these snap pads or items that are similar to snap pads. We actually did the name brand snap pad, and so we did. It was pretty costly. I think it was upwards towards almost 300 that we actually paid for them. But they were a very, very simple install, y'all. Believe it or not, I installed them myself by myself.
Well, hold
y'all.
on. Before you even
by myself.
Well, that's not true. But before we even go down that path, so what I was saying before he kind of jumped ahead, because I wasn't asking him to say all of that. I was just asking, where did we get the snap pads?
The link will be at the bottom of this for the snap pads. Again, Amazon came in for the win. We got them from Amazon. So
and
link
back
will be
to
at
what
the
I
bottom.
was saying. So we had looked. The quote that we got to install, and mind you, this is probably total a 15-20 minute process. $700+ to install snap pads.
Yep.
So of course, Google, YouTube has become our best friend. We go and look, and Zay and I are like, this is not that hard to install. So basically, with the levelers, he did not do it by himself. I had already been doing something. He was already outside, kind of doing something in the yard to where he was somewhat dirty. And so I said, well, I can move them around because someone has to let the levelers down while the other one is shifting the pads around to line them up. So they tell you basically we use Dawn dish soap, lube up the snap pad with a generous amount of dish soap or something that has some slip to it. Then put the pad under the leveler coming down. And then you just keep letting it down and just lining it up so that it falls straight and it pops right in. That's it. Like, that's the whole process. That some of the dealerships or someone else to do it for you are going to charge you a $400-500+ mock-up just for labor for 15 to 20 minutes.
Yep.
So if you get an RV, it's best you just do it yourself, because it really is that easy, like not complex at all. So we leveled the RV, and then we did have to tweak around with it because it wasn't completely leveled to where like the water had like an even flow to it. And then I'm gonna let Zay start telling you about the setup of the inside, because on the outside, that's pretty much it for the most part.
Yeah, and you know what? Being that this was our first time, the setup on the inside was pretty simple. As you guys can imagine, when you're driving, everything's moving, everything's, shaking. So you can't leave anything on top of the counters or anything of that nature. So for us, I mean, really, when I got there, it was all about, putting our coffee pot out, because we have to have our coffee in the morning.
Yes.
And then, just getting some things, situated. The inside actually for this particular trip was very, very simple. It wasn't anything that we were too concerned about. So it was pretty easy. It was pretty easy, y'all. I really don't have a lot on this one yet. I would say when we start talking about our other trips, I'll probably have more to add to it. So we're good on this one.
So and I will say I did like Margaritaville, the park overall. Like, they had a few different amenities. Zay said, we had got the golf cart. So we got the golf cart. We was like, oh, well, let's go driving around. But
before Lance gets there, y'all, I thought he was going to talk about another crisis that we had. I guess because he does the outside and he didn't do something, that's why he was trying to leave it out.
But I was waiting until we got the more to talking about what we did.
Oh, well, I'll go ahead and talk about it now, y'all. So here we are. We're going to go ahead and to start to get things cooking, right, y'all? So it's time to get things going, and we go to use the stove and the burners, and nothing's working. And we've seen it work before. We've seen it, right? We've tested it. We knew it worked. We tested everything before we took it off the place. Not tested it that day, but tested it the day of purchase. So we're like, what's going on? And so then Lance's immediate was, we must be out of propane. Our readers are not reading it. We're out of propane, because the reader said we had propane, but Lance was pretty adamant that we didn't have propane. So then he was like, we got to get propane. We're going to have to unhook everything, go drive and look for propane, blah, 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 blah. So once again, actually versus Google coming into our save.
Well, before you say that, no, I had called around to see if there were mobile propane companies that will come and refill it. Actually had called the RV park. That's going to be another thing too. Like with the RV parks, now that he said that, they typically give you a list of items that or like vendors that they allow on property for different things, like to get an RV wash for propane or something of that sort. And even some RV parks have propane refill stations on site. And Margaritaville did, but it was for the portable propane tanks that you normally hook to propane gas grills, but not like for the actual attached version that we have. And it was so that's why. So it wasn't like, and then I had called the office and they had gave us a name of like one where you can actually take it to. And I was to the point where I'm not unhooking all of this stuff to go and get propane. We just won't cook. We'll use the grill. And we have friends that it was coming up to see us. We had them buy us a little propane, because Zay had mentioned we have got the gas grill. So we said, oh, well, we knew we were grilling that weekend anyway. So we just had them to pick us up the little portable propane gas tanks that you can actually get from Walmart. And they brought us some, and we used that. But go ahead.
So what came in for the win for us was we talked to our cousin. So our cousin called and checked.
And we'll have to have her on an episode.
Yes, we'll
talk
definitely
a lot
have
about
her on. She called to check in on us to see how our trip was going. She knew it was our first time out, and we told her, disaster struck. We don't have any propane. Blah blah. And then she says, oh, well, she says, I totally understand. She says, I always forget to turn my propane off when I drive, and she loses propane as she drives. And then I looked to Lanston and I said, Lanston, when we were outside assessing what was going on.
You're saying my full name
now?
Oh,
sorry. When we were outside assessing what was going on, I asked Lance, I said, Lance, did you turn this on? And he says, oh, yeah, I took care of it.
I did not say, oh, yes. I said, well, I went out there to turn it, but it was so tight. And, of course, I was being like, oh, I don't want to break anything, because I really wasn't for sure which one was the turtle valve. And so our cousin, she FaceTimed us, and she said, yes, that looks like the knob. So I turned it, and then, of course, there was propane.
And then, of course, we had propane. So it was all about, of course, outside setup wasn't done correctly, and now, luckily, he has a good sense of what to do outside.
If you're not experiencing difficulties, you're not learning. So this is where, like I said, the checklist came into play. Whatever. The checklist came into play. So now we have propane turned off when you're packing up, and when you're unpacking, you get to a site, you turn it back on when you're going to need it.
Yes.
But go ahead.
Yes. I think this is an outside thing, y'all, and I apologize. But I normally take care of this one, and that's why I forgot. But I will let you guys know. So majority of all of the RV parks offer internet. So majority of them offer internet service, yes. So you can just use their internet. Being that we are using our RV and that we're going to be working from our RV, we wanted internet that we owned ourselves and that we had more control over.
And bandwidth.
Yeah. And the bandwidth, because we just have a lot of things going on the internet. So what we did was we got it's just Starlink. We have Starlink internet service, y'all. Again, I will put the link for Starlink in the actual down comments below. You'll go online. You're going to hear a lot of different people. There's people that think about Starlink in a lot of different ways. Some people love it. Some people hate it. I think there's really not a middle ground. Either you love it or you hate it. So at this point in time, we love it. The Starlink has been extremely reliable. It's been very, very simple. Mm-hmm. I mean, it is probably one of the most simplest things to set up and get going. It handles all of our internet items in the RV. The other piece that I forgot to tell you guys, I guess in our beginning setup, is Lance and I we want to make sure that we feel secure and safe in these RV parks also. So we wanted to make sure, that was one of our concerns to think about, is when we are in different states and different RV parks, how do we ensure that we feel safe?
I will tell you this, just to jump in here really quick. Most of the RV parks, believe it or not, they're either gated or they have 24-hour security. Like there's someone there, like on the entry, and you have to have specific credentials or like identification to get onto the ground. So that was a secure element that we did find and that we liked. It was at Lake Lanier, Margaritaville, and some of on the upcoming trips that we talk about, it was the same as some of the other RV parks.
Yep. So at the beginning, we went ahead and we installed a Ring doorbell camera on the front of our door. So I will link all of those components that we ordered to make that happen, because we didn't drill anything there. We use this adhesive tape that's extremely good, and we got all of these different things to make sure that Ring doorbell worked up there. So we have the Ring doorbell there, and then on the initial trip, that was one of the security items we got from the initial trip, and then the second one is we have a Ring camera in the windshield of the car that actually gets the front of it. So those items are then linked up to Starlink. So and I'll put all those links in the bottom of the item. But definitely, if you're thinking about purchasing an RV, or if you're about to purchase an RV, I would recommend some type of security, something that lets you know what's going on. We also got a door chime, so every time the door opens, it chimes, just like your regular home with an alarm system. Same concept. We wanted to know when we were asleep, we could hear that door open and be alerted to it. So that was another item. I will put it the link in the comments below. But definitely, and for all our current RVers, what do you guys do for security? Do you feel safe? And then how do you what different products or systems are you guys using in your RVs? Please comment below. Let us know what you guys got going on. Maybe we can dedicate a whole show just to security and different ways that you guys can feel comfortable in RV parks. So.
Yep. And overall, like, just to jump into like some of the amenities at the Margaritaville, they're making a man-made beach. It wasn't open when we went, and I think they're going to have a new slide that they're going to have that's opening. I think there were some delays because it was supposed to be open spring of 2024, but we went there spring of 2024 and it was not. So it will be a little bit later. But they have Game Changer where you can get food, you can play games.
Yep.
I think they did like a putt golf in there, like arcade games, and like different things for kids to do if you have kids with you. Also, their infamous, or not infamous, but their famous Land Shark restaurant is there, and which is on the water as well. They have a pavilion where you can go and I think actually grill out if you wanted to. And they had a TV. They had a TV there as well.
They had a TV there too.
Right. And which I thought that was really nice. So the overall park for me, I know Zay has said earlier, it was a bit on the pricey side, but it was a nice RV park. Sizable. I mean, like a lot of driving, like literally if you had people coming to visit you at the RV park, they would have to follow a map to get around to you. But like I definitely give Margaritaville overall like a thumbs up. But the price, but yeah, it depends on what you're looking for, right? Like if you want to go do dry camping and not have anything, of course you're going to pay cheaper. But like with the amenities, it is going to be more. I will say this though. If you're going to pay for the amenities, if you're going to go to an RV, make use of them. Use them. Like, I don't care if it's the pool, if it's the grill, whatever, you pay for it, use it. Why not?
Yes. I mean, the only thing I'll throw out there, y'all, is I think I'm thumbs up on Margarita for the weekend. It's definitely not a place that I would go stay, a week or 2 weeks, a couple of weeks at a time. Not because it's a bad place, just because it's expensive. I mean, I think that you could probably get better bang for your buck somewhere else from a long-term stay. But if you were just looking for a weekend trip to take the kids and have a good time, or you and some friends go out and have a good time, I think from a weekend perspective, it's a great park. Definitely recommend from a weekend thing. Just wouldn't recommend from a long-term thing. I don't see the value in it from a long term.
Well, I think too, it depends, because a couple of things that I did not mention, they also had like pickleball courts, and they also have a golf course as well. Now, they have what they call their mobile bar cart, where they actually come around to your site and take drink orders. So like for us, we had our alcohol with us and we were drinking that, but they do have, and I think they do specials on certain days.
I think they might have happy hours and special days.
And they had events that you can participate in with the other RVers too, but they have a mobile bar cart. They also have like a trash pickup. Like you sit your trash out by a certain time daily. They drive through, they pick it up from your site. At some of the RV parks, you have to take it to the dumpster and dump it yourself. I've come to personally like the ones that come by the RV site and actually pick up the trash. So like just small things to start to think about.
Yep, absolutely. Y'all, I mean, I think that I hope you guys found this pretty informational. I hope we helped if you were trying to decide whether or not to check Margaritaville out. I hope that you guys have created a good list of must-have first-time items for your RV. If this is, if you're just getting into it and about to start, or if you are considering one again, you're going to make this list and keep these things going. And then for all our existing RVers out there that are following us, please help us, right? We're looking for your help too. Put in the comments what you do, what you would recommend, and all those great things so that they could help us.
Well, hold on. And I know we're closing out, but I mean, that's the drive up there we got set up on the drive back, because I'm not the one that does all of the driving. I want Zay to tell you about his experience with driving the RV back.
Oh yeah, wow. Okay, y'all. So
he wanted to skip that part.
I did. It was a bit. I will tell y'all. If you have never drove a class A motorhome, it is very, very different. It does not drive like a normal car. So let's just say that, right? It's nothing that I knew about driving applied to this RV. So first thing for everyone, of course it's a big wheel, and the wheel is very loose. Like, it's very loose. There's nothing firm about it. It's loose. So you're constantly having to move to the left, move to the right, move to the left, just to make sure you're staying in the middle lane, you're staying in your lane. And so it's a lot of things, right? And then Lance makes me nervous because he's like, are you looking in your window for your right? Are you looking in the window for your left? You have to look at both of them at the same time. Excuse me. And you have to stay in the lane, blah, 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 blah. So, I mean, I was almost terrified to a bit. So I'm like, okay, I can do this. Hey, I've drove since I was 16. I can do this. This is not that big of a deal. So my whole game plan was to be in the slow lane, driving 55, doing my thing, right, y'all? So I did really, really well on that whole game plan until this trucker, and I still to today's day does not understand why he was so upset with me.
You did go in his lane.
So Lanston says that I went into his lane, right? I don't think I went into his lane. I was too busy trying to stay straight. But this trucker was so mad with me that he cut in front of me. And I mean, he put half of his body out of the window, was flipping me off, cussing me out. And guess what I was doing, y'all? Still looking straight, making sure I was keeping my wheel in the lane. It didn't faze me a bit, but Lance got the biggest chuckle out of it.
It was hilarious.
Because that guy was super upset. I mean, he was super upset. Mm-hmm. But yeah, that's my story, y'all. That is why driving. So when I do drive, it has to be on flat, regular surface, no inclement weather, and I can stay in the right lane doing 55 the whole time.
But that's not always going to, because as an example, we were in Gwinnett County back in Metro Atlanta, where there are 4 or 5 lanes on both sides of the interstate, and you can't just stay in the right lane, because guess what? You hit exit only lanes and you got to keep moving. So that's not always going to be the case. But anyway, but out of that, I like Zay said, I hope you do find it helpful. We did start the development of a checklist of when you're packing up or when you're unpacking, things to turn off, things to make sure you turn on, depending on whatever that propane being one of them, in order to feed it. But you do need to turn it off. And one of the things with storing it at a place, they tell you it needs to be off, because while it's stored, it should not be on. Like in that sense.
Yeah.
But we felt like afterwards we did have a good handle on it, and we did kind of like start to do things like I said in the introduction video and even at the beginning of this, prep work. For like prepping for the trip or prepping to actually complete a trip. There are certain things you want to make sure that you can take care of ahead of time, so that when you get to wherever your destination may be, it's quick, it's seamless. It will take time, but trust me, you will knock a lot of time off once you do that. But
Absolutely. No, y'all. I mean, I think, again, I hope that you guys found value and are hearing about our first trip and why we did such a short, quick one that was right here within our city to go to. But we are looking forward to telling you more about our next video that will be coming up. Our next video will be coming up is going to be the documentation of our cross country trip.
Yes.
So y'all, we are going to take it cross country. We are going to go we will start off in Atlanta, Georgia. We will head to Arkansas. Then we will head to Texas. Then we will head to California. Then we will head to Nevada. Then we will head to New Mexico. Then we will head to Texas. Then we will come back into Atlanta.
let's just say we're going from the East Coast to the West Coast.
Yes.
With multiple stops.
So super excited. We are going to document all the stops and all of that great stuff. So please be on the lookout for the next video. It will be all about our stop in Little Rock, Arkansas. So I'm definitely looking forward. It's always fun times to talk about the Rock. So I'm looking forward to giving you guys some information and how that trip went there.
Okay. So, in closing, just please like, share, subscribe to our videos, and join us on the next episode to talk about the first stop of that cross-country East Coast to West Coast trip. And like we always say, home is where we park.
Absolutely. Looking forward to talking to y'all soon. Thanks so much, y'all.
All right. Bye.
Bye.